YouTube, what's going on today? No more videos a day late, but at least I'm still doing it. So today's video, we're going over my 93 Mustang. This is my little pride and joy of the past 6 years. I've done countless things to it, and I've done all the work myself, so it's not the greatest. But it's getting to, getting there, getting better as, each day goes on. The car was built in 01 of 93, so it's only 2 months older than I am. Kind of one of those things that I like. Yeah, this car should have been done probably sooner than it has, but you know how projects go. Kind of lose interest at times, but I'm happy that I've kept this car even though I have lost interest at times on it. Pretty basic car, a lot of just do-it-yourself kind of stuff on it, and we'll kind of go through it today. First up, since we're already pointing at the front end, we've got a Cobra R fiberglass hood with some really old one-piece blacked out headlights. Punched a bunch of holes through the front bumper to help some airflow get through, because these things don't really allow the best airflow. And then on this bottom lip, I've actually put a brace to allow the plastic to kind of meet up against the intercooler to help kind of shove air into the intercooler. I don't know if it actually works or not, but it was a try at something. And then, typical race car hood pins that'll probably break on me once we get going fast. So in here, we have a basically bone stock 1987 turbo coupe motor. It's got 35-pound injectors, a 120 intake with a lightly ported lower intake, stock throttle body, front mount intercooler, eBay special. Blow off valves, those are some more eBay specials. It's got, a fender air filter, power steering cooler. The front mount intercooler is somewhat mounted halfway decently. Suspension wise, I got Maximum Motorsports camber plates on it, and that really helped me kind of dial in how the front looks. If you want a really good turbo, I would recommend going to bigrmotorsports.com. They have a bunch of eBay turbos with rebuilt internals, genuine internals, so then they're actually good turbos for about half the price if you were to actually buy a quality name brand turbo. And that thing's been chugging along. 3-inch downpipe, still internally wastegated because it works. Now on to some more exterior and suspension bits. This whole car has a GT body kit. The front I bought off, the front and rear I actually bought off of one guy, and then I bought the sides off of another guy. I like how the GT kit looks on this car. I don't know why they didn't put them on this car. To me, they look great. And then Amazon special on the plastic fenders. I mean, they work. They've been on there for a while, and they're still pretty decent. Suspension-wise, I've got V8 spring or struts, and then V8 lowering springs on this car. Not touched, just the V8 lowering springs. Bought off of Marketplace, I don't know, years ago at this point. Cut inner tie rod for an SN95, SN95 outer. I do have the SN95 sway bar welded to the unibody of the car instead of in its normal mounting spot. So it has a whole SN95 sway bar, and it doesn't rub. I have modified spindles that it took 3/4 of an inch out of the spindle and moved it inward. So this thing has decent amount of angle for a lot of stock parts. Just stock 95 brakes. It does have a 2-inch wheel spacer on it because I really didn't want to cut up the lower control arm to extend it out. It does have a 95, or no, actually it's an 03 lower control arm because they are slightly notched a little bit for wider wheels in the front from factory. These are the 99 to 04 FR 500 wheels that you can get off American Muscle. I actually got these off eBay on their dent list. Still fine wheels. I think it's just like one of the rims got dinged up a little bit or whatever, and they can't sell those to, on their regular page, so they throw them up on eBay for like half the price. Still a great rim. And then the rear, I have 18-inch FR 500s. I think it's wheelreplicas.com. I want to say they were 99 bucks a piece. I mean, they were super cheap. These are actually for an 05 to 09 Mustang. And then I just got a tiny little spacer plate in the rear just to help it like look a little bit better. The rear, the bumper was already melted right here. All right, I destroyed it because it was already kind of melted a little bit. So don't be getting mad at me for cutting up a GT bumper. LED taillights. I love these taillights in these cars. They look great. I mean, it's either these or the LXs. That's the only two options that you really have for taillights in a Mustang. And full 3-inch all the ways back. I wasn't going to neck it down. I was just going to keep it 3-inch all the ways back. It does need another hanger and kind of finish up welding it, but it's in there and it works for the most part. Does leak once it gets out to the axle. 95 wing. My cousin had a spare and I was like, well, shoot, I'll see how it fits. And it honestly like is real close to the side of the body on each side, but it's not touching. I do need to mount it better, but I mean, you're going to slowly get the whole point of this car as the video goes on. Some stuff I forgot to mention. The engine is, I think I said it's basically stock, but it actually has a Ranger roller cam in it, ARP head studs, the Felpro 8993 gasket in it, dual valve springs, ported exhaust manifold I did myself. Probably not the best job, but it does the job. Brakes, I forgot to mention that it has a 95 master cylinder with the proportioning valve / 3-to-2 line adapter kit from Maximum Motorsports on it, and then a Ford Racing adjustable proportioning valve to get the brakes kind of dialed in. Right now I just have it to where the fronts do all the work. 95 steering rack. I made my own intermediate shaft is what I'm going to call it. I know that's not the right word, but I made my own intermediate shaft between the rack and the steering wheel instead of buying the $200 Maximum Motorsports intermediate shaft, which would have been better. Basically, I cut the Fox part that connects to the steering wheel off the rest of it, and then cut a SN95 part that connects to the rack and welded the two together. And it's been holding for the past couple years. It does really good. 95 rear axle, LMR, lower control arms, stock upper control arms, because I built this car to drift. And when you get to rolling the body and whatnot, the 4-link design on Foxbodies is not the best for side-to-side motion. It's great for a straight line, but once you get side-to-side, they start to bind, especially when you put tubular ones in there. I also made my own panhard bar for this car, even though I ended up buying a used Maximum Motorsports panhard bar. I made my own previous to that because I never thought I was going to get one, so I figured I might as well build my own. It has a Speedway Motors like axle tube or axle clamp, essentially, that has a bunch of adjustable holes on the side. And then I built a bracket for the passenger side, so basically the rod runs from the passenger side to the driver's side, and it sits pretty level once it's sitting on the ground and whatnot. Subframe connectors underneath. If you don't have those on your Foxbody, that is a must. That's the first thing that you should do to a Foxbody is put subframe connectors in them. It makes them drive so much better and feel so much, just taking corners, they feel better. after you put those on there. Now, as we're moving on into the interior, the typical Mustang door, I have pins for it. I just haven't done it yet. We do have a racing seat up here. Fits great, but you got to watch yourself because you'll catch a kidney on it and it hurts so bad. Toggle switch, I haven't drilled a hole in my dash yet, but that controls my oil pressure light, my boost gauge, and my wideband all up here. Another Amazon special. Doesn't fit, worth nothing. And now as we move into the car, ooh, that's a little jerky. We have a, I think it's an LMR short throw shifter. It feels fine for, $99 or whatever it was. It was cheap compared to actually getting a quality one. Amazon handbrake that I need to weld in. It's kind of just bolted in right now. With a Willwood master on it. All right, that was one thing I was gonna, make sure I at least got a decent part with a cheap handbrake, because I can always replace the handbrake. If that breaks, that's not good. Fire extinguisher, because it's a project car, needs a fire extinguisher. That is my 7-inch display stereo. That was another Amazon special. It actually runs like internet and whatnot, so I was able to download MS Droid to run the ECU that's sitting over there off that screen, so I can have real-time gauges and data and whatnot easy to look at. Let's do some idling and whatnot. I gotta do a little bit of tuning on it before we can take it for a drive, but I'll let you guys kind of see where my fuel map's at. Right now it's completely off because I changed the cam timing, because I actually had it a tooth advanced, and with a speed density map, essentially when you change stuff like that, it just throws the whole map off. So right now it was reading rich at idle, now it's reading super lean at idle. So I need to get that squared away before I can really take her on another test drive down the road. And now let's see if this thing is as loyal as it usually is and fires right up for me. So let the car warm up a little bit. She's a little cold-blooded. Kind of been messing with the idle tune and idle. Haven't quite got this car. I'm really new to messing with fuel maps and wiring and stuff like that. For some reason, this car, whenever the idle gets below 1,000 RPM, my gauge just starts freaking out on the dash. And I know it's got to be some interference stuff, but I just can't quite figure out why it's doing that. I put a shielded wire in the car, and that seemed to help a lot, but it didn't quite fix all of it. So if I grab my laptop, and hopefully it doesn't unplug, right now, hopefully you can see that this thing's basically in auto tune mode, and I have it set to where it needs to see a minimum amount of fuel load and RPM before it actually starts affecting the map. So as we give her throttle, this thing is smoking like a sieve. Yeah, it's not fog you want to be running through. Gosh darn it. Well, that wasn't good. I think my catch can was overfilled, and I actually emptied it out. And I think it was just pushing oil into the turbo into the engine, burning a little bit. Next video, we'll probably go take it for a drive down the road and see if it's still smoking like tomorrow. Then if it is, it's a good thing I got this done, I guess. So what I got sitting here is pretty much all the parts, or a lot of the parts that I have stored up for the car, and some stuff that I've gotten recently done. In this bag is a freshly magged, clean, honed 2.3 block, still standard bore. Luckily, I was able to just clean up the hone a little bit and keep the stock pistons. I had to get the crankshaft machined, and that was not cheap. I mean, all in all, for the hone, magging, cleaning, crankshaft machined and checked, it was like $500 with some bearings. So we got to do bearings. I've also got a SN95 throttle body that I really want to put on the car. The entire handbrake kit to get that all finished up. Some 373 gears, bump steer kit, and a panhard bar. I'm going to try my bar first just to see how it does, and eventually I'll end up putting this on there. But for now, I'm going to see if my cobbled together panhard bar will work. And then I don't know if it's just me, but I played a lot of Need for Speed when I was a kid, and underglow was a thing in that game. So I'm going to do the irresponsible thing and put underglow on the car. I did forget to mention one other thing I'm going to add to the car. I've got these injectors here. Normally they are just the normal Ford. Oh, focus. Can we focus? No, we're not going to focus. Anyways, these are just the Ford red tops. They're 30-pound injectors. Oh, come on. There we go. But what I ended up doing was grinding the tip off to where it's just the pintle showing and there's no more screen on it. Well, actually, I had a buddy help me grind these off because I was not confident in getting that off without messing that up. And now they're 60-pound injectors. So we'll see how those work. I appreciate you guys' time on the video. Like, comment, subscribe. You know, the usual thing. And we'll see you next time.